And while we're focusing on sort of that slightly internal lens, what about, which you quite often get because people like the sort of sexy new business, what about when you get a kickback for a renewal about, we don't have the time, we don't have the resources for all these great things you're talking about. How could we address that?
Well, I mean, for me, it's absolutely about taking control. So you've got data in your CRM. You should know when your clients are up for renewal. You should know what type of contracts they're on. You've got to start planning this out so much earlier. So run those reports, understand I usually run about 15 months out because I think, okay, that gives me the next 12 plus a bit of a head start. When are their clients, when are they dropping, all of the expiries? Are they auto renewals or are they fixed term contracts? And when physically are they, what date are they dropping? Because sometimes when I do that, I'm like, oh my God, that like August is crazy. How can I even think of taking leave in August? But I've got 6 clients renewing. I'm going to have to be much more prepared. And also when you want to bring other people in and not just do it alone solo, you've got to be mindful of other people's time, commitments, resources. The further out you plan and start to prepare for this, the easier it's going to be to manage or A, get resources, B, manage them.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's kind of some obvious things there, but there's a tendency to stick their head in the sand, isn't there? If you're the account manager running the day to day. And I had a great example just a couple of weeks ago talking to an account manager, and they were explaining to me how they had 300 accounts. I mean, how can you manage 300 accounts in the first place to start with? But we were talking about the bidding process, and she was saying how she received an email from one of her 300 clients with a tender attached to it. She wasn't even sure what it was. So kind of shame on her company for not giving her any training on what sort of stuff, what a tender is and what you need to do. But then secondly, yeah, not having the triggers and the processes in place to at least flag to her one of your clients is coming up to renewal in whatever the right period of time is in advance, so you can think about getting that renewal or retaining that client rather than, blimey, what's this? It's a tender for the business that we've won. So yeah.
You just reminded me about a point because one of the reasons we wanted to do this is because account managers aren't regularly out there pounding the pavement, hustling, doing RFPs, doing bids. We're usually fortunate enough that our clients renew. They may have auto rollovers. They may have long-term contracts. I was in account management for 5 years before I had to do my first RFP. I managed to avoid them all because I just happened to have clients that rolled over. And so be honest with your skill gaps. If you know you don't know how to write an RFP, start to learn. Let your boss know, listen, this is coming up. I'm going to need help with this. If you're not good at negotiation, get that out on the table now and buddy up with somebody in sales. There's no point, pretending you don't have skill gaps because you do, I do, we all do. And if they're going to be a challenge when it comes to renewing that customer, you want to start to address those much earlier on. So I think that's an important point too.
So Warwick, you've talked there about, maybe putting something 15 months in advance of the sort of the contract renewal date, but how are you going to remember that? Do you have a great big list of the dates where your contract ends? What's the way to do that, to capture that?
I used to just look at spreadsheets, but if you're a manager, you might have 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 1,000 accounts within your team. If you're an account manager, like Graham was just saying, up to 300 accounts, you can't just keep that all in your head and look at some random spreadsheet. So fastest and easiest and simplest way is just to drop it all into your calendar. You can create a separate new calendar with renewals and just drop them all in there. Simple.
Perfect. Useful. Thank you.